Hey guys, welcome back to the Betar Project. Our next special guest is an explorer and expedition leader. He has walked some of the largest rivers in Africa. He's also part of the Royal Geographic Society. So without further ado, let me introduce Chaz Powell. Thank you for coming on, man.
You're having me on, Nick. I'm good stuff. You all right?
Yeah, how's your morning been?
Yeah, it's been good. I'm staying in my van at the moment in Wales, in the sort of mountainous regions of Wales, and it's sort of in between the mountains and the coast. So I'm just woken up on a big camp field, and yeah, it's been a good morning. Every morning's pretty good in the wild. I guess you get up and cook some breakfast and have some tea and just chill out and talk to people like yourself. Do some interesting stuff. So it's a good morning. What about yourself? All good?
Yeah, nighttime here at the moment. Just day of work.
All right.
And just relaxing tonight, doing this.
Cool.
But yeah, so for people who don't know you, you want to kind of introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm called Chaz Powell. I guess I've been a bit of an explorer for the past sort of 15, 16 years now. I've sort of started traveling early 2000s, and I did a massive backpacking trip, which lasted for about 8 years. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life all during that time, and just wanted to travel and explore and sort of just go to interesting places. And that's all I've ever really wanted to do. And I came back to the UK around 2012 after 8 years of pretty much unsure sort of lifestyle of travel and just doing that side of things, and became a mountain leader. Started living in the outdoors, or basing myself in the outdoors, learning how to survive in the mountains and sort of different wild areas, and became a mountain leader. Started teaching bushcraft and survival as well in the sort of forest environments, mountain environments. And I guess it's sort of like the more I've traveled, the more I've explored, the more sort of I've stretched my comfort zone. And the last sort of 5 or 6 years, I've been walking a lot of Africa's wildest rivers, which has given me a bit of a title as an explorer, I guess. And I walked the length of the Zambezi 2016, 2017, and walked the length of the Gambia River in Senegal, Guinea, and Gambia in early last year. And then I walked across Madagascar with a team of people, and that was last year as well. And basically just started doing really remote expeditions, which is what I love doing. And the more I've sort of done, the more sort of wild they become. And I guess I've sort of turned into explorer. Lead expeditions as well. Part of my main job, I guess, is leading expeditions. Lead a lot of youth expeditions in Africa and different parts of the world. And yeah, I guess that's me really. I'm just a simple guy who does crazy adventures and things.
Take me back to your upbringing. What was that like?
It wasn't too bad. It was pretty standard British upbringing, really. I had a good upbringing. I had a good family life. 2 sisters, mom and dad, and things like that. And just sort of, I used to get carried away when I was young. I was always a bit restless, a bit of a wild. I've always been a bit, not wild is probably not the right word, but a bit more outgoing. And I've always wanted to just do stuff all the time. Quite restless and. But I grew up quite well in my youth, and as soon as I sort of left home, I wanted to get exploring and things like that. So, yeah, I had a relatively chilled out sort of upbringing, nothing really of any kind of drama that I can think of. Always just wanted to just do stuff really. And yeah, I guess as soon as I became of an age where I could actually get out and do stuff, I did start doing it. I did sort of like Duke of Edinburgh Awards at school, which was what I guess triggered the whole wanting to be outside, working outside, exploring and things like that. But yeah, I was pretty chilled upbringing really.
Whereabouts in the UK were you raised?
It's a place called Shropshire, a little town called Newport in Shropshire, which is a little market town, and I guess it's a little bit of an agricultural area, Shropshire. It wasn't really like a city life or anything like that. I was in a country sort of town and things like that, and I had obviously a good circuit of friends, and we used to just get out on our bikes, every night and do things like, camping out and stuff like that. And yeah, it was pretty chilled out really. Yeah, Shropshire.
Good little community. Everyone knows
Yeah, I don't know
everyone.
if you've heard. Yeah, pretty much one of them little towns where if I go back now, it's been probably 20 years since I was last in that town. Everyone will know who I am, and they'll still treat me like I'm a 17-year-old that was gallivanting around the town with my mates. They won't look at me and think, oh, he's been away and done stuff. He's just that same, which is a bit. It's good and bad in different ways.
Yeah.
That they don't really go out of their bubble, and they're really sort of narrow-minded. I hope they don't hear me saying this and think that's not very nice. But it's a town where you don't really leave that town. You don't really sort of move on from it. Really, it's what I find town to be like. Really.
So what made you want to leave that bubble?
I don't know. I think I just outgrew the bubble. I think I just wanted more. It sounds a bit selfish saying wanting more, but I just think when you sort of, that's your only options in life. You're in that little town, and you can either have a partner from that town, or you can get a little job in the area, whatever it is. And I just felt like I just wanted to travel and see the world. And I think, like anyone will say who travels, as soon as you start traveling, you just you can't really stop in a way. You see different cultures, different ways of life. You meet different people, and it sort of becomes part of who you are, really. And going back to that mundane sort of life where everyone does the same thing every day, it's like a cartoon sketch. You'll go past and someone will be mowing the lawn outside and hanging and washing up. And it's the same people doing the same thing. And I think as soon as you leave and you sort of see different lifestyles, and I guess naturally, genetically, some people probably feel like they are born to explore more than others are and get a sort of more of a buzz out of it and stuff like that. And I think with me, I can't go back to living that boring life. I guess it's not boring for everybody, but for me, going back to that sort of lifestyle really doesn't work for me anymore.
Yes. So travel just really opened your eyes to what's out there in the world.
Yeah, I think it has, and it's good and bad in different ways. It's when it comes to like settling down and things like that, it's obviously quite difficult because I'm always wanting to travel and move around, and I get quite restless, and it has affected relationships in the past and things like that. And I've always wanted to go off and do stuff, and maybe the partner hasn't, and that's been quite difficult in the past. But it's good. It's good for me. I like being adventurous, and it's definitely, I think, a life that is fulfilled with exciting experiences is much better for me than doing something that doesn't excite me at all. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So how old were you when you left, and is that when you started backpacking, or?
I didn't start backpacking until I was 24, and I'm
Okay.
actually 40. It was about 16 years, but when I was young, I left sort of home when I was about 19, and I started sort of traveling around. I was working for actually at one point I was working for a company where I was traveling around putting in marquees and just doing jobs that were just traveling around. And I went away and worked at a holiday camp in the UK for a few years as well. And that was sort of really, I'd never really been out of my town actually until that point. And I was a bit narrow-minded myself probably. And as soon as I went and worked at this place and met loads of other people that were doing the same sort of thing, I realised that it's quite an easy sort of thing to do, is go away and work and meet people and obviously have a good life. And yeah, I did that for like my late teens, early 20s. And then as soon as I started traveling, that was a completely different ball game, really. I just didn't know. I didn't think I was ever going to stop.
You just got hooked.
Yeah, I mean, I say I didn't think I was ever going to stop. I don't think I have stopped, but this year's put a hold on most things, really.
It's like an addiction.
What, sorry?
It's like an addiction.
Yeah. They call it the travel bug, don't they? And I guess the addiction is not being able to stop and just always needing to feed that addiction, really. And it is an addiction, but a good addiction. It's not like a unhealthy addiction. I guess sometimes the bank balance suffers a little bit with that addiction, but it's good. It's all good.
So when you went backpacking, was it all around the world, or?
Well, the first, yeah, I've done it sort of a few times on and off, really. And the first sort of time was Southeast Asia and traveled all around like Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, those sort of countries. And then traveled across Australia as well. I did the east coast of Australia in a camper van, like most people do. Obviously, the Cairns to Sydney sort of route in a camper van, and worked in New Zealand, travelled around there quite a lot, sort of in the early 2000s. And travelled across America. I've done an overland of Africa. Yeah, there's still, I mean, of all the countries in the world, I guess I haven't travelled to that many, really. I did a lot of long durations in certain places like Australia and New Zealand, the US, Southeast Asia. I spent a lot of time in Africa, and quite a lot, yeah, a lot of different places in Africa and stuff, which triggered the whole wanting to walk the rivers thing as well, which has been the last sort of 5 years. But yeah.
Where was your favourite place when you were backpacking?
I still love Southeast Asia. You know, the sort of, but back then when I used to travel, I guess things were a lot cheaper, and it was probably a lot less busy as well. You know, probably not busy now, but back then it was quite unheard of to be traveling around in some of these remote sort of islands and things like that. And I used to travel around just with my backpack, and yeah, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Burma. All of these sort of places were just incredible, you know, just sort of easy to travel, really cheap, and you can stay on a beach for like, you know, a few pounds a night and things like that, which was really incredible. But yeah, there's so many places. I always find it quite difficult to say what my favourite place is, really. But Zambia, I spend a lot of time out in Zambia, in Africa. I spent a lot of time in Australia and places like that, and yeah, there's so many places, and I think every place is unique. Every place has got its own sort of good quality and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
Is
there any dangers when you're backpacking around?
Oh, I guess there's dangers everywhere in the world, isn't there? You know, you go in, you can potentially meet, you know, a confrontational sort of place or whatever. And where I've travelled, what I've done has obviously made potential dangers more apparent, if you know what I mean. I've done the Zambezi River walk, for example. You know, I watched a bit of Justin's. I know Justin told you a little bit about the kidnappings and things like that. And there was times in the Zambezi where I was held captive, and I did get problems. I was pushed around. I was beaten. There was wild animals. I was charged by elephants. There was lions outside my tent. There was, but yeah, I think for the most part, humans are normally the ones I worry about more than anything else. You know, the other stuff can be controlled. You know, the wildlife obviously is wild, but as long as you give it respect and you stay your distance, or you act in a certain way, it's not gonna harm you. And the environment's the same. You know, you've got to really respect the environment and sort of tread carefully. You know, if it's hot, you obviously got to make sure you're using the right precautions. Same as it's cold and different challenging environments. I love different environments, and I never have a problem with them. It's just people. You know, as Justin was saying as well. The problems we had in Madagascar were bandits and things like that, and everywhere we went, we were totally, you know, told about security problems, and you can't go through this area. You'll get attacked, you'll get killed. You know, I think every day it became a thing where it got worse and worse, and we were told you were going to get killed, you were going to get kidnapped, you're going to get shot, etc. And after a while, that does drain you. Trying to find alternative ways around, and as the expedition leader, I felt like it was my sort of role to try and keep everyone safe and to try and get us the best way through these places. And it does get draining, you know, when you're constantly facing dangers. But for the most part, backpacking wise, I never had any problems. You know, the odd sort of comments and things like that. You know, you don't really get many problems when you're on the sort of tourist routes, really.
Yeah.
But when you get outside, like Madagascar's quite lawless, and yeah, I know Justin was saying quite a bit about the whole dangers of it, and it was actually very, very dangerous. And I think I can't remember how many percent, but maybe like 70% of Madagascar is without police control, and it's really lawless. There's a lot of bandits everywhere. And we did see them in the end. We did see some bandits, and luckily they left us alone. But yeah, very dangerous. Wild animals can be dangerous, but like I say, if you read the situation and you respect the animal and you keep your distance, touch wood, I've never had too many problems with animals. There's been snakes and things. There's been has been crocodiles, hippos, lions. I'm just going to close this door because it's starting to rain a little bit. It might go a bit dark. Second. So yeah, there you go. Spotlight. But
That's all right.
Working. So yeah, does that look all right? Spotlight.
Yeah, it would do the job.
Yeah. So it's dangerous, really. I guess the animals but it's all readable.
Have you been charged by like an elephant or anything?
So yeah, on the Zambezi, I walked. I don't know how much you know about the Zambezi walk, but I walked for about 2,000 miles, and I had to stop due to the civil war in Mozambique. But then I went back and finished the walk. But when I got to near that Mozambique border, it was getting more and more wild and populated with wildlife, and there was actually elephants everywhere. There was elephants, there was lions, I could hear lions roaring near where I was. I could see elephant tracks and trails everywhere I went, and it was actually just before I got to the border with Mozambique. There's a national park called the Lower Zambezi National Park, and basically I was walking through there, and I was told by everyone I met until that point, you can't walk through that area. There's so many wild animals, and I didn't really have a choice. I had nowhere else to go, so I kept walking, and I knew that it was very dangerous. But what actually happened was, towards the end of that bit of the walk, I was walking down this track, and there was it was a national park, on the outskirts of a national park, and to the right-hand side of me was an old sort of disused airstrip, and there was a bit of a dip in next to the track where I was, and before I knew it, I heard this huge thundering crashing of trees next to me on the left, and I knew that something was happening, and it was just like an earthquake was going on, so I could hear all these trees just falling and collapsing, and then this huge bull elephant charging towards me. And they always say, do not run from an elephant. It's best to stand your ground. But if you've got a so many ton elephant running towards you, you're going to try and get out of the way. And what I did was I sort of like moved down into this dip, which was next to me, and onto this sort of airstrip. And luckily the elephant stopped sort of just before the dip section. And I was just he was staring at me, I was staring at him, and I was slowly backing off. And it was just a crazy moment. And yeah, I mean, you look at what happens with elephants in Africa and all around the world. They've been so abused, and they're such intelligent creatures that they know what's happening. They know what, if their family members have been killed, they know it's humans. They know this, they know that, and there's a reason why they charge. There's a reason why they protect themselves, and it's just about understanding and respecting these animals. And I think they're incredible. I wouldn't ever say a bad word against them. And I think a lot of the things in Africa is obviously there's a lot of conflict between the humans and wildlife due to the fact that years and years ago the land was owned by the elephants, and obviously nowadays the population is so big that there's no land left for the elephants. All their corridors have been habitated by people, and they're trying to do their old migratory routes and things like that, and they will come into contact with humans, and they can't get over things. So there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, elephants obviously can't be free anymore like they were, and humans feel like they're very dangerous, which they are, but there's a lot of history that elephants remember, and there's a lot of problems in Africa. As you've probably read and seen on the news, the elephant population's been wiped out. 97% have been wiped out, and every day you'll hear about an elephant, or elephants being massacred and things like that, and it's just crazy. And these animals, they do remember, they do know what's happening, and they will defend themselves. And when that happened to me, I think it was a case of this elephant. It must have had some kind of issue with a human being of some description, and it was charging me. It didn't want me near it. So it was an eye-opening moment.
Yeah, they're beautiful creatures. It's sad to see what humans are doing to them.
It is. It really is.
But I think that comes down to lack of education as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's probably no education to do with wildlife in Africa. You know, you go to the schools and it's very rare they'll talk about the animals as being something they want to protect. It's normally, I mean, there will be schools and education centres and things that cover it, but for the most part, your normal African school, these people that live amongst the animals, they won't get told anything about the animals other than they're dangerous and to avoid them, etc., etc. There's no emphasis on trying to protect them, and there's no emphasis on, like I was saying, about how intelligent that animal is and what its background is and why it's attacking people and things like that. And there's no real wanting to understand all that as well, I guess, because people in Africa we know don't have very much, and they, what they do have, they need to protect. So it's a really difficult situation, and it's really sort of one you have to tread carefully around, because you can't. It's getting the balance of giving the animals the freedom, but letting people in Africa live a really good life, and have more land and have more opportunities. It's a really tricky challenge for them.
Yeah, it's sad, but before we know it, there's not going to be any elephants left.
No, that is the brutal truth that a lot of people are trying to protect the elephants, but the reality is, you look at the percentage drop and how many are being killed within 20 years. There's going to be at the moment, most elephants are in protected areas, so they're trying to get to that point where they give them their own areas and they will be protected in that area. But as we know, elephants migrate and they go to different places, and they always have, and it's ingrained in them. But these areas they go through are obviously human populated, and telling an elephant to stay in this one area because that's where you're going to be protected, it's not going to really understand. But I think it will get to a case where these areas will have to be fenced off, and the animals will have to be protected to a higher level. Is the only way I see it. The dream for anyone who loves animals is to have them, any animal to be free and to roam and to live its life like anybody. No one wants to be caged. But I really think for elephants, and we see rhinos and things, that the only way it seems possible to protect them is to put them in areas and guard them and things like that. And trying to do that when an animal keeps moving around a couple of 100-mile distances, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's sad. It's basically going to be like a zoo.
Yeah, and I don't, I've never really been a fan of zoos, but I try and support them because I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect, and they're trying to, increase the population and teach people about the wildlife and things like that. So there's a lot of positives to the zoos, but it's really scary to think that could be the future of elephants. Could be the future of any animal, really, of being in a zoo, because human beings can't, be happy with what they've got. They want more, and they want to strip the land of whatever there is there, and the animals don't have anything left.
Yeah, humans are very greedy creatures, aren't we?
Yeah, very greedy, and I don't want it to turn into like one of these anti-human sort of interviews. But yeah, I think with the whole, as we can see with what's going on in the world at the moment, things don't make sense. Human beings want more than what they need, and I don't know it gets more bizarre every year. Every animal you think of, there's some kind of problem with it as far as where it lives, or its land's being destroyed, its habitat's been ripped to pieces. The ocean, the forests, and anywhere you think of where an animal lives, they're having it stripped away from them because human beings want more and more, and human beings are using up everything. It's disappearing, and we're going to get to a desperate point in the next 50 years, I'm sure. But
Yeah. It's like the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. That's not going to be around for much longer.
yeah, that is one of them, isn't it? That's really sort of I guess most reefs, especially the Great Barrier Reef, is really sort of in trouble, isn't it? And the fish have got nowhere to go, and corals have been destroyed. And yeah, it's very sad, isn't it? Really, but.
So, do you do much in regards of animal conservation?
When I walked the African rivers, the main aim behind it was to raise money and awareness for wildlife conservation and different issues in Africa. Obviously the elephants and rhinos and things. And I try and raise money, try and raise awareness. When I've been on the Zambezi, for example, I kept bumping into people that were wanting money. They were trying to sell me ivory. They were talking about poaching. And there was so much there's so much going on, and there's so much happening that I try and raise awareness for these issues and try and highlight what's going on in the world when I do the African river walks. And I am always of a mind where I want to raise awareness and sort of funds for wildlife and to try and make a difference. I guess, like I was saying before about it feels a little bit hopeless at times. So to keep sort of, doing it's quite draining. But every time I do an African river walk, I want one of the main aims behind, because they're such powerful walks. If no one's ever walked this river before and it's an iconic river, people are going to be looking at it and people are going to be looking at you for, what's going to happen whilst you do this walk. And if you've always got a purpose of, right, I want to raise awareness for the wildlife in that area, and I want to highlight some of the problems that are happening, people are going to look, and that's a good stage to be on to highlight these crimes and these problems in the world. So I do try and make a point of raising awareness for the wildlife, and but part of me feels like it's been a real struggle to do that. But,
yeah. It's like sometimes you're just hitting a brick wall.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's I'm sure. I'm very hopeful that things will get better. I'm very hopeful. And I think it's really probably not good of me to sit here and just say these are the problems, because there is a lot of good happening and a lot of good coming out of projects that are happening in the world. And, there is hope that it will reverse and the education will be there. The lands will be more available for the wildlife. People and animals can live together. There is hope that all these things will happen, and all the projects that are going on in conservation-based areas all around the world. There's so many incredible projects, so many incredible people that are setting out to fight for the wildlife, that I'm very hopeful that it will work and will reverse it, really.
So your project, it's called The Wildest Journey, is that it?
Yeah. I mean, originally I was just going to walk the length of the Zambezi, and it was all going to be about just doing a crazy adventure. And I was just calling it Walking the Zambezi. And another guy I know, he does a lot of walks, especially in Africa as well. He was calling this stuff Walking the something and Walking the other. And I felt like I needed to change the name of it, make it sound more unique and more personal to myself. And I knew that it was the wildest journey I'd ever taken on. And it's the wildest river in Africa, the Zambezi. So I call it The Wildest Journey as a sort of like I'm doing, it's the wildest journey. I kept tagging that and that being a thing. And it's just taken off, and it's just become all about my walks in Africa, really, and my lifestyle. It's just become The Wildest Journey, and I've stuck with it. It's been a good name.
So was the Zambezi your first ever long distance walk?
It's the biggest ever long distance walk I've done. I've done various different walks. I've walked all over the UK. I've walked the different national trails we've got here, and I've walked different islands in Europe and walked across different countries and things like that. But I'd never walked anything that was several months in one trip, and I wanted to do a really long expedition. And originally I was going to walk the length of Madagascar with a friend, and it happened that someone else was going to do that same expedition at the same time. So we pulled out of that expedition. Then I went down the route of wanting to do the Zambezi trek, and the friend I was with at the time, he wanted to do something else, and yeah, it just all sort of formed into one thing really. And the Zambezi, it took a good couple of years of my life, the whole planning and the walking and whatever else. It was a big project, really sort of, overwhelming project. But it changed my life a little bit, it set me up for doing more African river walks and obviously being able to speak about what I've seen and sort of speak to people like yourself about, the things that happen in the world and, the adventures I've been on and things like that. And yeah, it's, I've gone off tangent a bit now.
That's all right. How long was the Zambezi's walk, and how long did it take you to do?
So it's a 2,000 mile. It was about 2,000 mile, 3,000 kilometer walk.
Shit.
But yeah, and it took 137 days in total. The first time round, I walked for 97 days from the source to the Mozambique border, which was like 2/3 of the walk. And then what was happening in Mozambique at the time was there was a civil war, and I was told if I go into Mozambique, there's a good chance I'm going to get killed or shot or kidnapped, whatever it was. And I stopped the walk, and so many months later I went back once it said the Zambezi, the Mozambique, the problems had stopped, etc. And I went back and finished the walk. And I think it was another 40 days at that point, which was 97 days in total. And 137 days in total, sorry. And then, that was when I got kidnapped anyway. So I should have just gone into Mozambique and just did it as I did, but I ended up getting kidnapped anyway in the end. So it was a bit crazy.
So how did the kidnapping come about and what happened?
So obviously going into Mozambique, I was very aware that it was going to be quite on edge because of what had happened in the recent years and things. And when I walked along Lake Kurubasa, which is a big, huge lake on the Zambezi and very remote sort of area. And as I got past that lake, after a couple of weeks of walking, I had to walk through some villages which were surrounded by the mountains going around the river. And at this point, I hadn't seen too many villages in Mozambique. And I knew that I wanted to try and avoid the villages because I didn't want confrontation. And in Mozambique, they speak Portuguese anyway. So me being able to sort of communicate was going to be really difficult. And this first village I got to, one of the guys on the outskirts of the village sort of said to me, come into the village. He was speaking a little bit of broken English, and I didn't really have any choice. I had already been seen, and it was getting quite late in the day, so I decided, okay, I'll come into the village. And as I went into the village, he sat me down. And in Africa, there's a lot of formalities where you go into the village, you meet the headman, you meet the chief, you meet the mayor, or whatever it is they have in the village, and they'll want to talk to you. They'll want to find out what you're doing. They want to obviously give you then permission to walk through their village, to stay in their village. There's a bit of a system where they have to do that. You have to be accepted in the village to then be allowed to stay or walk through. And it can be a very difficult process because sometimes they want money, sometimes they want they want the ins and outs. It'll be really quite difficult sometimes, and most times they're incredible. They're great, but here in Mozambique it was different. They wanted to know what I was doing. It was more of like a security problem. What are you doing here? Why are you here? What are you doing? And it ended up, I got there about 5 o'clock in the evening, and I was still sat in the same place at 11 o'clock at night after 6 hours of sitting down and just sort of waiting to find out what was going on. By this point, it started off with a few people around me to begin with, and by this point it was about 300 people around me. And at this point also they were getting very hostile. There was a lot of people shouting, and you could tell there was a lot of anger with me being there. A lot of worried people. Why is this person here? Blah blah blah. And then there was some people that were trying. You could see there was like a bit of some people trying to defend me, some people trying to sort of lynch me. It was really scary, actually. And then they got a guy in from another village who could speak English, and he was translating from obviously Portuguese to English, and I was talking, and they were just asking me questions and whatever else. And in the end, what their decision was, they didn't believe my story. They thought I was lying. They didn't trust me. They thought I was some kind of spy. So in the end, I was just the last sort of thing I remember from that sort of part of it was just being grabbed by a load of guys, sort of dragged along the floor, and I think people were like sort of like, I don't know if I was getting hit or kicked, or I could just feel like a load of chaos happening all around me, and I was grabbed, and then the next thing I know, I'm in this room, this hut in the middle of the village. No windows in this hut. It's just an African hut. It's just got like a straw roof and mud brick built walls. And I remember just being in this room, and it was a horrible room. There was cobwebs all over the wall. There was sort of like spiders, and I still had my bag on my back, so they didn't take my fingers off me. Luckily, I still had my bag on my back. And when they dragged me into this room, I put my tent up in the room, and I thought, part of me was relieved because I was so tired and drained from having sat there, having walked all day, and then having sat there and tried to explain myself. I was relieved that I could actually just sit down and just get away from people for a while. But then I was in that room for 3 days, and there was no real sign of me having to leave that room. And in the end, the one original guy that I spoke to at the very start, he was one of the only guys that was actually being nice to me. He kept coming to the door and checking on me, saying, "Yeah, you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, good." Well, I'm not good, but I just said, I'm okay. And in the end, I managed to persuade him to let me go to the toilet, which was outside the room, because I'd obviously been going to the toilet in the room until this point. There was no way of getting out of it. And I actually managed to persuade him to let me go to the toilet. This was on the third morning, and I had my bag on my back. I put my bag on my back again, and I just thought I'd chance it, and it was like early in the morning, so there wasn't many people about. And I had in my head, which I knew where I was, I knew which direction I needed to go if I was going to get out. And at this point, I had in my head, I need to go that way. I need to keep moving. So I pretty much just walked as if I was going to the toilet, but then just walked and carried on walking, and went through the bush and ended up just sort of kept going. And there was I could hear some people saying stuff, sort of some going on, and I just kept going, just kept moving. And luckily I just got away, and I went back down near the river and just hid out for a couple of days, and then managed to get back into a town and just get away from it all, really. And it was, I guess, calling it kidnapping is I don't know if it was kidnapping or just being, but it was a scary experience, and I was annoyed. I felt, that third morning I just wanted to get out. I didn't really care about what they were going to do to me. I just thought, I'm not having this anymore. I'm just going, it's enough's enough. But pretty crazy.
Did you fear they were going to kill you?
I don't even know. I don't think I did, really. I just thought I just didn't think they knew what to do with me. I just think what should we do with this guy? I don't think there was any element of them having a reason to kill me or wanting to kill me. I think it was just more like being detained, like a prisoner would be. And I think it was just, this guy shouldn't be walking through. We'll just lock him up and we'll deal with him another day, And by that point, I think, the guy I'd walked off, he might have got in trouble, so I feel a bit bad for him. But I think, I think they just didn't know what to do, and I think partly maybe they were relieved that I'd gone, so they didn't have to deal with that problem, if you know what I mean. And that's what I like to think, that maybe that they'll be happy that I just did go, and it's not their problem anymore, really. But
how did that affect you mentally after? Did you still want to continue the walk, or you wanted to get out of there?
I think by that point, I'd become very determined to finish the walk. There was a number of things that happened before that, and the many things that happened on the Zambezi where I thought, I'll stop. I want to, I don't want to walk anymore. It's getting too dangerous. I nearly died, etc., etc. And at that point, I just felt really. It's a bit like the whole human being thing. I just felt really frustrated with human beings at that point, and but at the same time, I understood why they were doing it, because what am I doing walking through their village, in the middle of a civil war, and what right have I got to be doing that? It's not really. There's that selfish side of me that wanted just to finish my walk. It's been a long project. I wanted to walk the Zambezi. I wanted to do that, and that side of it was there, and that side of it really took the forefront of just like, let's get this walk done. I was 3/4 of the way through the walk at that point. I probably had another few weeks left. I thought, I want to get this river walk done, and that was at the main point in my head. And there was times after that where I nearly got into trouble again with people. There was a lot of people coming after me, and I just kept moving. I just said to myself, just keep going, don't stop, I don't want to stop and talk to anyone again. So I just kept moving, kept getting out of there, and just kept going, and just kept finding. There was little towns that along the river, which were had little hotels and things. So I'd get to a point and I'd just lock myself away, and very corrupt place. A lot of Africa. I don't want to. A lot of place in Africa is quite lawless at times, and the police aren't always straight laced. They'll want money off you. They'll want a bribe, or they'll want this, they'll want that, and it's a difficult. I think that's what happens with the wildlife. Like, a lot of these charities that give money to wildlife, it goes to the government, it goes to the sort of organisations, and this money's never seen again. For the most part, it's used in ways that it's not designed for, and I guess it's quite corrupt, really. But I had to, pay a few bribes, and I had to sort of get myself through places.
That takes a lot of mental. Oh, yeah. There you go. That takes a lot of mental toughness to walk all that way, get kidnapped, and then continue the walk.
Yeah, man. So like, yeah. I mean, it was tricky, and I think just to reset, I had to be really focused. At any expedition you do, when you've got a difficult task ahead, you have to be really focused, and you have to sort of you have to zone out of all these problems that are happening around you, and kidnappings and animals charging you, and nearly sort of getting bitten by a snake or whatever it is, and things. And you just have to sort of zone out and put it behind you, and then just carry on and sort of focus on the good things, because there is a lot of good things. There's people that treat you really, really well, which happen for the most part, and there's incredible places. I'd be sat by the river watching elephants sort of grazing on the side, and just really peaceful moments and really sort of humbling moments that made it what it was. And these little bad things that happened along the way were a really small part of it. And I guess for the most part, when you do a talk or you tell people about stuff, they want to hear all the gruesome things, but for the most part, they were a really small part of it. And mentally, it did really sort of knock me for six. But I picked myself up again, because the next day I'd have met a load of kids laughing, smiling in the village, and it would have just brought me back up again. It would have just made me feel, this is all worth it. And there's it definitely outweighed the negatives. But that was, the Madagascar, like Justin was saying, it was a bit different there. It got quite draining. It was a smaller expedition, but it was tougher because we had to walk. I think one of the days, 35 miles maybe up mountains and through rivers, and it was draining because it was just constant warnings and constant threats and constant sort of problems. And there was good moments, but I think on that walk there was probably more difficult moments than good ones, which made it more difficult overall. But the Zambezi, 137 days, I think 100 days at least, I was in a really good place and treated really well. There's a really small part of the walk where you get problems, but as anyone who does expeditions, if you go and climb Everest, there's going to be a few days on that trek where you're going to have real difficult times, and it's going to really test you. And they're the bits that people want to hear about. They want to hear about the mental, resilience and things like that. And I think any walk you'll just think about the exhilaration you get at them points. That's what you focus on, and that's what you zone in on. And the negatives you just have to put to the side and say, right, it's going to make a good story people can hear about one day. So,
What are the temperatures like over in Africa?
So the Zambezi, it got to like 50 degrees, 50 degrees Celsius, which is really, really hot. And actually, at one point on that walk where I nearly died because of the temperatures, I had to make a decision to walk near the river because that's where all the water was. It was probably the driest time of year when I was walking the Zambezi, and the temperatures were reaching 50 degrees Celsius. But the problem with walking by the river is it's not easy to walk by a river. Where I was at this one point it was a huge gorge in the land. You've heard of Victoria Falls?
Yeah.
Victoria Falls, after the falls, drops down into this huge gorge. That's where the water is. It's down in this gorge. So I had to walk in this gorge, which was so difficult. I was walking maybe 1 or 2 miles a day and getting nowhere pretty much. And I ended up getting frustrated, climbing out of the gorge, trying to find a shortcut. But the problem was, where I was trying to find a shortcut, there was no water, and there was really overgrown land, and it was the hills, and it was so difficult that I ended up getting a bit lost and a bit disorientated and running out of water in 50 degrees Celsius heat. And I ended up having to climb down a cliff in the end after Justin was saying, I had to drink my own urine and that during because I couldn't get any water, and the only thing I could do was drink my own pee at the time. And
nice,
really nice. But yeah, that ended up climbing down a cliff, fell, smashed on my leg, cut on my nose. It was a really difficult day that was, and got back down to the river. The river, where the river was in the gorge, was incredible. As you can imagine. Fast-flowing river through a gorge, those little rock pools, and it was a beautiful place, but so difficult. It was just crazy because I was trapped in that gorge as well. Going back would have took days, going forward's going to take weeks or whatever. It's just you're in the middle of nowhere on your own. I didn't see any people for 2 or 3 weeks on that section, and it was just, but so dangerous. I had to stick by the river in the end, and. Yeah, I thought that was one of the only times in my life, actually, I thought I was going to die. I thought I'm in trouble here. I'm in real trouble. I was actually on my I'd called for help on my satellite phone, and they were going to send helicopters and things like that. And it was a point in my life where I just thought, I'm dead. I'm gone. There's no way out. And
so when you got back to the river, did you just drink the water from there?
Yeah, I stopped drinking my wee and I just started drinking the river water then, yeah. But it was, the whole time I did my walk, I may as well do a bit of product stuff here. I use this water to go bottle, which it's got a filter in it and stuff like that. So pretty much every day I drink from the river using a filtered bottle. And I drunk, you could, as imagine in 50 degrees Celsius temperatures, I'd be drinking maybe a litre an hour at least in the hottest temperatures. So I drink maybe 10 or 12 litres a day at times. And it would just come out of you. You rarely have to go to the toilet. This water would just go. You'd sweat it out straight away because it was so hot. And using a filtered bottle was the only real way of carrying enough water, because you just keep filling up from the river, you drink. You keep filling up from the river, you drink. And there's the gorges section. You could probably get away with any water that's really fast flowing. You obviously know it's naturally filtering itself through the rocks, etc. And it's probably safe to drink, but yeah, I used the filtered bottle for 90% of the walk, and I think when I actually got back down to the gorge from that episode where I nearly died, I just drank. I just didn't think about the whole filter thing. I just got in the water, jumped in the water, and I probably drank about 5 litres of water in about a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever it was, and it was just my body needed water. I know I can't really explain how bad it was, as far as you think about being thirsty or whatever, you can get headaches and things, but I was getting to a heat stroke sort of phase. And
were you hallucinating?
I was like, those hallucinations. I fainted a couple of times. I passed out. It was like I can't explain how thirsty I was, and just the whole drinking my own urine. It wasn't the case. I didn't even think about what am I drinking. I just thought I need fluid. I need fluid. I can't. I'm just drying up. My whole body's just drying up here. And getting in the river, it took me about an hour of sitting in the river as well before I could actually focus enough to be right. What am I doing? What's happened? And then I had to get on my satellite phone and tell people that I was safe. And really, really difficult day, but glad I survived it. Really
Crazy times.
Yeah, it was.
Any other near-death experiences? You seem to have a few.
Yeah, I've got a few. I mean, that was probably the biggest. I guess the elephant, the kidnapping, there was black mambas and things. I nearly trod on a black mamba at one
They're
point.
big snakes too, eh?
Yeah, really dangerous snake, and that luckily just darted off. There's lots of snakes around. There was a few snakes, and I don't think there's many actually. I think I was deported at one point because I expired my visa, but that wasn't a near death. I don't think. I guess there felt times like where this was dodgy situations. There was actually one point I was in my tent and there was lions outside my tent. There was lions nearby. That was a scary point. That was something where I thought, I can't move. I can't go anywhere until I know these lions are gone. And but yeah, there was a few points where my heart was in my mouth and I felt like I was treading on thin ice, with my life, sort of thing.
So, what are some of the funny stories of you traveling? If you were to listen, Justin's one when he shit himself. You got any like that?
Oh, I guess I got some similar stuff. I mean, I try and have a sense of humor. You've got to have a real sense of humor when you travel and walk and do things that are difficult. You've got to really laugh it up and really sort of find the funny side. Or, if you're in a bad situation, the best thing to do is laugh and just think, what am I doing? But some that come to mind is I was walking in the floodplains of the Zambezi, and this is the reason I chose to walk when I did is because it was the driest time. And this floodplains, basically, they're like a swampland, and most of the year the Zambezi is underwater. The land is underwater because of the floods. And I was walking in this area when it should have been dry, but it was still boggy, and I had to walk up to my knees and waist in bog at times and swamps. And there was one point where I had really bad diarrhea. I don't know what I'd eaten or drank, or I had just really bad diarrhea. And I remember I had to just obviously keep going to the toilet. And I remember I was approaching this village, and I was in the swamp, so I couldn't walk, and I was trying to get out of the swamp, and it was maybe like knee deep at this point. So I was really struggling to get up and move around, and I had my bag, and I remember like these children sort of waving at me, and I just remember thinking, I need to go to the toilet. I'm gonna shit myself here. And I just remember like these children waving. I had to just like wave, but then also at the same time I had to like go to the toilet. I had to like pull my trousers down and go to the toilet because I couldn't. Yeah, sounds really dodgy, doesn't it? But I just couldn't. I couldn't hold it. I didn't want to shit myself, but at the same time I couldn't not go to the toilet, so I had to just like pretend I was waving. But yeah, I'm going to the toilet. Hi, all right. But, so yeah, that was like, yeah, not very nice. That was, I guess that's classed as funny, but at the time it didn't. It sort of, yeah, I guess it was funny, but I was just like in panic at the time, thinking, oh no, I need the toilet. But what else was funny? I don't know. Let's just laugh at everything. Some of the people I walked with, some of the sort of characters I met along the way that just made it so funny and enjoyable. There was times I was walking with this one guy, and I just basically asked him directions in the village, and he ended up coming with me for a couple of days. Showing me the way, and he was just so funny. He was just such a funny guy and such a great guy that he became like a really good friend. And he'd just be teaching me sort of like words that he thought was funny, teaching me these words. And I'd shout these words at villagers, and he was laughing his head off, and we were laughing together. It's just random times like that come to mind where I just felt really happy, and it just felt really nice to be around people that were laughing with me, if you know what I mean, instead of like the times where I just, I nearly shit myself and things. But it was it was good, man. I think every day I try and do little funny things, but it's good.
What was it like walking Madagascar with Justin? He's a bit of a character.
Yeah, he's a good guy, Justin. I guess we got on really well, actually, me and Justin, and I think it was good to have him on board because there was originally four of us. There was two girls, Nina and Emily, and then there was me and Justin. And Nina dropped out early on because she had a back injury. She couldn't carry a bag, and she was struggling with her back, so she dropped out. And then Emily was the only girl left, and she was great. She was doing translating. She was French, so she was helping out with that. But I think if it had just been me and Emily, it would have been quite difficult, I think, to have that same morale. I think with Justin, he was a really good laugh, and we have jokes together every day and things, and bounce off each other a little bit. And he's a good guy, so we got on well. And I can't remember the ins and outs of it. I think because everything was so stressful at times, we just kept each other up, with sort of little things, and just kept moving and kept sort of like trying to make each other feel good and stuff like that. And he was good. He was a good guy. And even walking through the rivers and things, he did everything, as you would, as it was just normal. Emily got quite upset because we had to walk through a lot of rivers, and it was a difficult time. So also the bandits, the stress of all the bandits did get to us, and you could see that the cracks were forming in the team, and having someone who's mentally strong like Justin on the team was really good to keep us going and keep the morale up and to sort of get going, really.
Yeah, he mentioned there was a village that caught on fire and you guys had to flee because they believe you guys could have did that.
Yeah. Well, I think it was really weird because that was near the end of the walk, actually, and probably like just before we got back to the main sort of road area. And what had actually I think that day or a couple of days before, we'd been saying how frustrated we were with explaining what we were doing. You'd sit down, and all the villagers would be looking at you, and you couldn't speak to them because they don't speak the same language, and it would get really frustrating. So we got to a stage where we were like, just can't be done with this anymore. It's just getting really draining, and just being looked at and sort of in suspicion. And this point was one of the last times we had to do that. It was one of the last times we had to sit round and explain ourselves and talk to the people. And I remember just being sat there by this little hut, and all these people were looking at us. There was me, Justin, and Emily, and all these people were staring at us. And the next thing I know, I can hear the people are like looking. I can hear these girls start to scream, and I'm like, "What are they doing?" I thought it was some kind of. It felt really weird, like there's a ghost or something. It's some kind of really spooky scene, and you could see like these black things floating in the air, and it was obviously ash or like bits of like burnt straw or whatever is off the roof, and then you could hear like this crashing, thundery noise going on, and they all started running, and we were like, what the hell is going on? And then we got up, and we could see that back half the village was on fire, and it was all sort of sweeping through the village. And I think because they'd all been sat with us, looking at us, that something had happened. I think, like these little, what are they called? I can't think of the word. Like Twizzler, what are they called? The tornado.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a mini tornado. Couldn't think of the word then. A mini tornado was like whipping through part of the village, and what had happened, in my guess, was it must have swept up a fire, like a little fire they were using to cook with, and it must have gone onto a roof or something like that, and then that's obviously started to go through the village. But because they were all looking at us, they obviously weren't paying attention to what was going on in their own little homes and their fires and things like that. And something must have caught fire, and then obviously just swept through the village. And we were then like, let's get out of here. We can't. We try to start with. You're like, what can we do to help? And we're like pretty helpless here. People were getting stuff out of the house. They were trying to get their belongings, and in my mind was like, they're going to think we were part, because in Africa there's still a lot of emphasis on not witchcraft, but sort of things being sort of not normal nature, you know. So if this happened for a reason, you know, these people came to the village, they possessed the village, the fire started, blah, blah, blah. So in my mind, I was like, we're going to get blamed for this. They're going to think we had something to do with this. They're going to think that we brought some kind of bad omen into this village, so we better get out of here quick. So part of it was like, let's try and help, but then at the same time, let's get out of here because we're going to get caught up in something that we don't want to be caught up in here. And I just thought we'd just get moving because we were trying to get some food at that point as well. And by the time we actually got some rice, people had bought some rice. We were eating rice whilst their houses were on fire. So it felt quite bad that we were trying to eat because we hadn't eaten all day, and that these people were now in a really difficult situation. So I said, all right, let's just go. Let's just get out of here. And we ended up going, and it was just crazy. It was just like, yeah, once again, you know, every day there's random crazy things that happen. And at that point, it was really weird because it was a little bit like, you know, it felt like we were getting frustrated. Inside, we were internally frustrated that we had to go through this process again. And then the next minute, their village is on fire, and part of you inside is like, you know, it was a bit weird. It was just really weird. Yeah. So,
That whole Madagascar trip seemed weird.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of Madagascar, you think of its unique biodiversity and its plants and its wildlife, and it's all, you know, it's incredible sort of, you know, flora and fauna and things like that. But the wildlife reserves, once again, like anywhere in Africa, they're shrinking. They're becoming less. 90% of people in Madagascar use charcoal for cooking, so all the trees are being chopped down, etc., etc. And it's a very barren place in the wild parts. You know, there's not much beauty anymore. I mean, the hills and the mountains, they look beautiful, but you know, the forests and things have all been stripped away. And Madagascar is a very lawless place as well. The people, they're very different. You know, they don't really. Yeah, they don't have the same life as we would. You know, there's a lot of fear in some of them villages. People are scared of these bandits, and these bandits don't care about who they kill and things like that. And I think that side of it is really, really difficult. You know, and I didn't realise. I put my hands up to say I didn't realise it was going to really be as bad as it was with that side of it. And you know, when I took on this adventure and invited people along, that I sort of, you know, in my eyes, it was going to be relatively straightforward, you know, and get through this expedition. We'll walk the longest river in Madagascar. We'll do this, we'll do that. And the reality of it was pretty dangerous, and I wouldn't really ever recommend it to anyone else. Other people have asked me about it and said, you know, would you back kayaking it? A guy contacted me about kayaking it, and I just said, look, mate, you want to really sort of do your research, because the areas we had to keep diverted from is the areas he wants to go through, and I think, you know, potentially it is very dangerous, and you really need to be careful. Yeah.
How long does it take you to plan these expeditions?
The Zambezi was probably a good nearly 2 years of planning, really. That was obviously the biggest one, the first sort of major one I did. So it took me a couple of years to plan it. But the Madagascar one, I think I had the idea in probably about 6 months beforehand. And at that point, I mean, planning wise, you need to know your route. You need to know your possible dangers. You need to know, after doing so many expeditions, you know what sort of kit you need to carry and stuff like that anyway. And just general research, and you know, making sure you've got the right mindset and things like that, and you're fit enough to take on the expedition, and times of year which is best to do it, etc. And you know, like say possible dangers, which I obviously overlook the bandits. The bandits are actually supposed to be, if you look at any kind of, it's really difficult to get any kind of knowledge on the bandits really, and they're like a bit like ghosts. They hide out in the mountains. They're very sort of like elusive, and to know much about them is really tricky. There's no media coverage on these guys. You know, they hide out, they kill people, they rob people, they kidnap people. You don't hear from these people again. These bandits are like dangerous, you know, and they're not known much about, because people don't want to mess around with these people. And to research where they actually are is impossible. And where the only sort of evidence I could find of these people were further north. They were more in the sort of cattle areas, which were further north, and we wouldn't get any problems where we were, is what I was sort of advised. And I was completely wrong, obviously, because they were just everywhere. And any hidden sort of pockets of areas, these guys would be basing themselves, and they were sort of spreading out. And I think like one of the times we were walking, and one of the first signs we saw of bandits was they'd drawn a head in a noose in the sand. So I think one of their symbols must be like they're like headhunters. They kill people. They drew like just in the sand with a stick or whatever. They draw a head and a noose. And one of the guys who was with us, he sort of said bandits, you know, and he was looking worried. He was like, you know, these bandits near here somewhere. And this was like an everyday thing, and it did take its toll. You know, as well as walking through rivers and over mountains, it was the constant worry about, are we gonna see bandits around the next corner? And everyone has guns, you know. Everyone had guns. Everyone you met, you saw some guys with guns. You're like, what, are these guys bandits? Are we gonna get shot? You know, and it was just pretty crazy.
Yeah, that would have been scary.
Yeah, it was scary. I think Justin told you about the village we went through, didn't he, with the actual guys, which were bandits, and we later on found out they were actually bandits. But yeah, that village, these guys were dressed smart, you know. In the villages, they're very poor villages, yeah. You know, so they don't. Yeah. They'll have like you know, ripped clothes and whatever else they'll have, old stuff. These guys had brand new shirts, you know, sort of dressed really well, looked really smart, and quite muscular guys, big healthy sort of guys, really. And it was just guys. There was no women, there was no kids, there was no families. There was just a load of guys, and these guys looked. The atmosphere was really sort of tense and really hostile, and I knew that this wasn't right. What didn't feel right at all. And like Justin was saying, our security that was with us they were scared. You could see they were scared. They were out of their depth at this point. And when they came out, it was a case of, let's get out of here. I don't want to be in this village. And they were like, yeah, we need to get out, you know, in speaking in Endau, which is the Malagasy sort of term for let's go. And we pretty much just got out as quick as possible, and yeah, kept looking back to sort of make sure no one was following us really out of there. And a couple of days later, we obviously found out that it was a bandit village, and we were pretty lucky not to have been any harm done to us, really.
That's crazy. It would have stressed you out as well, knowing that your security was scared too.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, like I think Justin was saying, they were more like guides in a way, because I think they were hard-faced guys, you know, they were quite stern. And the mayor had given what would happen, we'd go and speak to the mayor about getting some people to help us along the way, and these guys were, you know, they were seen as being respectable guys, and you don't mess around with them, sort of thing. But you could see that I think personally, one of the only reasons we didn't get any harm done was because these guys had some kind of stature in the village, and they knew maybe that if they mess around with us, these guys will go back, tell the mayor, and there's going to be a lot of trouble for them at some point. And we obviously found out that they'd attacked tourists, you know, so many months earlier, and a lot of them had been arrested and imprisoned, and they were scared as well that if they attack us, is it going to happen to them? You know, is there going to be any comeuppance of them being locked up or getting killed or whatever it is? So I think we were just really lucky, and that they were scared that we were potential threats, really.
So let's talk about some of the good times. What's it like going into a village and they have nothing, but they're so happy?
Yeah, I think that's something I speak a lot about, is, you know, the good times. And as far as these people literally have absolutely nothing, and they will give you everything. And it's the sort of thing of the whole world, you know, the more you have, the more you try to protect what you've got. You don't want to give it out. You become quite greedy with what you've got, and going to these places where that's all they've got. You know, they might have gone and got some eggs from the chickens, and they might have got a fish out the river, or they might have, they've got a really simple life and they live every day as it is, and they've got really sort of nothing, and all they've got is they pretty much, you go into a village and if they've got 2 eggs, you're going to get one of them eggs, and like Justin was saying, they'll give you your bed, they'll treat you in such a humble way that it's just unbelievable, because there is so much respect, and I think it's a different sort of world. If you saw a stranger walking through your town, the last thing you're going to do is invite them in, give them, cook them some breakfast, and then give them your bed for the night. It's just insane if you think of it in that context. But in Africa, that's the way it is. If you've got a stranger in your village, you've got to then treat them like a guest and look after them, and their way of thought is, this person is our guest, and I'm going to give them my bed, I'm going to make them feel welcome, I'm going to give them water so they can bath, I'm going to feed them. And a lot of the times, especially on the Zambezi, in Zambia, that was one of the reasons I love Zambia so much, is because of the way the people are, how I was treated, and how respectful the people are, how humble, and I can't imagine any greater lesson than spending time with these people. Some of the best memories I have are sitting down with people that have nothing, sitting down with a family on the floor, myself and the guy who owned the house, his family, his wife, his children, just being sat on the floor with these people, and we're all eating out of one plate in the middle of us. And just them times where you think, these guys are giving me little bits of what the food they have, and they're insisting. I'm like, I'm fine, you guys eat, and they're insisting, come and eat, you're our guest, we want to feed you. And these little times are just incredible. And there was a time actually when I reached this little village, and there was a man who was like, I guess he was a bit of an outcast. He was living on his own, had a bit of a straw building, an oldish sort of guy, and we didn't speak. It was just really straight. We didn't speak, but he sort of flagged me in. I came in, sort of sat next to him on this bench, and we just sort of like sat. I was resting, he was resting, and then he literally went down to the river. He brought back 2 fish. He had this little frying pan cooking on the fire, gave me a fish, he had a fish, we were both sat there eating fish, and there was no words that passed between us. It was just like a formality of being with this guy, and just this peaceful moment. And it was incredible. And you can't really put it into words. If you said to someone, right, you go into that village and sit with this guy and eat a fish, it doesn't sound that great, but that moment, it just all tied into being such an incredible sort of experience. And yeah, just they're the moments that really stand out, and people say, oh, why did you continue? Because these things would happen every day as well. These things would lift you up and make you appreciate nothing, make you appreciate that you don't need anything to be happy. And we are, like living in a van now, people would probably see that as being a strange thing. You haven't got much, you're doing that. But for me, I can't imagine anything better than living a simple life, really.
Mm. You see on TV these ads of sponsor African child because they have no food and they're anorexic and about to die. Did you ever come across that, or?
You see a lot of poverty and a lot of deprived people, and I guess I didn't really see to that extent as you'd see on the TV. I guess on the TV you see the worst of the worst. These areas are war torn or famine based, and the areas I walked through, I guess you couldn't really class it as being to that extent, but there was times where people had, there was one guy I met actually had malaria, and there was no hospitals around and things like that, and I actually gave him all my anti-malarial treatment because I felt he's going to need it more than me. And there's people that have nothing, and there's no facilities, and there's people that have diseases, and I guess for the most part I found it really really nice that they don't need anything. They've trained themselves, which is what I think every human would really benefit from, training themselves to not need anything, to be able to live a content life with nothing at all, and just what you've got around you, and just be happy with that, which is, I'm quite jealous of, because I don't know about yourself, but there's always something you feel like you need. I need this, I want that, I need that to be happy, blah blah blah. But these people, they don't have anything. They might grow a bit of rice, they might have a few vegetables, and they might have a couple of chickens or whatever it is, and they've got the river next to them where they can get some fish, and that is basically their life, and that's basically all they do, and they have enough, and they're happy. The kids are running around playing, laughing, joking. They're not sat on phones. They're not having any kind of distraction other than that moment where they're happy, and they're running about and being kids and things like that. And then they'll sit around as a family, they'll eat, they just got a simple life. They haven't necessarily got education, they haven't necessarily got things that we consider a necessity, but they seem happy. And I think sometimes that maybe we're missing something, from that. But there's a lot of emphasis on they're struggling, they need stuff, they haven't got anything, we need to send them this, we need to send them that. But sometimes people in Africa I've spoke to, they hate that. They hate that, seeing that that's the way it's advertised. And a lot of the charities, they need to really branch out and make people feel sorry for the people, because they're going to send money and things. But for the most part, these people don't really need anything. We're sort of like, I think even there's several things in Africa. It's a very complicated place, and a lot of the times in Africa, these people, I've seen examples of it where they'll be given a bag of seeds, and they'll be saying, right, this is what you need to do. You need to plant these seeds. You need to, next year you'll have vegetables, you'll have this, you'll have that. They won't do it. They'll eat the seeds that day, and then the next day they'll ask for more seeds. They'll say, can we have some? And that's the sort of mentality they have sometimes in these places. And for them, they're for the most part, that's what they want to do. They want to just live for today. Their houses they have won't last a lifetime. They'll disappear into the wind. They don't need anything to last. Which I guess, in my mind, am I thinking they don't need it, or is it just that they haven't got it and maybe they do? But yeah, it's for the most part they seem happy, and I think I've had a lot of mixed reviews from people in Africa that they get looked at in a way that doesn't describe how they actually are as human beings, and what they need to be happy, and what they actually desire with their lives. But then for the most part, some people are, I guess, influenced by our world and what happens over here. And maybe someone in the village will have a phone, and then everyone will want a phone, and it just becomes like a spiral. This is what you need. This is what you need in life to succeed and things. And it's not actually true, really. But yeah,
It would make you feel so grateful for what you have, seeing them have nothing, basically.
Yeah. I think we've got more than we'll ever need. Even people that haven't got much in the UK or in the Western world, we've always got more than we need. You can't just say, oh, I need this, I need that, because we don't need it. We've got, we can always live a comfortable life, whatever situation. When we can have a roof over our heads, for the most part, we can have food on the table. There's always ways of getting things, and opportunities is the main thing. We have opportunities in our world, where we can go out, we can study, we can get a job, we can sort of pursue a career, we can sort of like do whatever we think in our minds possible. We can, if you want to do a certain job, we can go out and do it. It's like Justin was saying, he went out to get his engineering degree to prove people he could do it, and to prove that he was able to do it. And anything you want to do, you can do, but in Africa, I guess they haven't got that. They haven't got them opportunities, and we have, we need to appreciate it, and we need to sort of like, be grateful that we can do whatever we want, and we have got whatever we need, in reality, really. But yeah.
Do you think it'll ever like evolve out there and they'll get more westernized?
I mean, I think so, but at the same time, it hasn't. Some of the places haven't changed for a couple of few hundred years. They've lived and stayed the same while the world around them has evolved. And once again, different reviews from different places that's how they want to be. You know, they're traditional, the cultures, their beliefs, their ceremonies, etc. They've kept it, and you know, in the UK and different places, we haven't kept them cultures, them beliefs, them traditions, and we've lost it, and we've all gone off in different directions. And I think in Africa there's a lot more sense of community, and I don't know if it will change. I think the biggest thing is the technology. That's what's changing the most, isn't it? And that's what's going to make people see other ways of life and see other concepts and things like that. And the smartphone is obviously a whole new world of people being able to see whatever they want to see. And in Africa, up until the last sort of 10 years, they haven't really had that. And now they can pretty much see these are the things that we could have, and this is what we could do. And there is a case of the newer generation not following the traditional ways, and you can see the older generation is a bit put out by that as well. You know, that the next generation are going off and working in the cities, or they're not carrying on the traditions. They're not, you know, they're not having grandchildren, and I don't know. There's lots of changes happening. So maybe I think if the world evolves as it has been, it will change over there as well. But once again, Africa is a complex place, and the governments and things aren't always good. You know, as we've seen through history, that it's a very difficult process for them. And you know, it's very complex. I think look back where it was. All the different countries that split Africa apart originally and made it what it is, and Africa was always a wild land that no one ever dared go to. And as soon as we did go there, we just said, right, what have we got? Let's gold, diamond, trees, whatever, let's take it, and split the country and you know, make it war-torn and make it a difficult place. And I think it's going to take a large number of years for it to ever become like the Western world, really. Even though some parts of Africa is, but it's complex.
Yeah. Is there any safe parts of Africa to go?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of safe parts. You know, I think any sort of main sort of saying that now at the moment, it's difficult to really pinpoint because of what's happened because of the virus and things. You know, South Africa used to be, you know, I'd say a good place, more westernized and things. But not saying that westernized is good, but just somewhere that's classed as safe. But that is getting a lot more press recently of being, you know, a lot more crimes happening, a lot more deaths happening, a lot more murders and things like that. And I don't know if that'll be a case of South Africa getting worse or coming back and getting better. But Zambia, you know, Zambia is really safe. Zambia is a really safe place, except for the wildlife. Obviously, if you go into the wildlife parks and things, but you'll always be with a ranger and stuff. But the people in Zambia are good, you know. Zambia is good. Namibia, Botswana, Tanzania, all the sort of sub-Saharan African regions really are relatively safe. I mean, the Congo and things obviously very dangerous. Parts of Mozambique's very dangerous. Angola's very dangerous. But yeah, Africa's very misunderstood as well. People think it's dangerous, and there's a lot of people, especially a lot of explorers, that go into these places and that are classed as dangerous and places you shouldn't go. They actually come out of them places being very, very shocked that they're not dangerous, and the media's portrayed them in this dangerous manner and scared people from going to these places, really. But yeah, it's I think most people that go to Africa, they'll stick to like the towns, and they'll have like a package deal and things like that, and obviously do safaris, or they'll go and climb the mountains and visit the national parks and see the different wildlife and things like that, which is good because, you know, people need the tourism to protect the wildlife, to protect the parks, to protect things. And I'd always recommend people to go to Africa, and it's a magnificent continent, you know, and the people are, you know, you look at people around the world, some of the friendliest people and some of the most humbling people are in Africa, for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Africa one day.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
So, what's some of the weirdest foods you've eaten on your travels?
Uh, I guess I've eaten a few weird things, but in on the Zambezi, I pretty much I don't eat meat really in the UK. I'll eat fish. I guess that's pretty much the only meat I'll eat here. But when I'm in Africa, I think if someone's going to feed me, I can't not eat what they're going to put in front of me. Obviously, they've either killed it themselves. It's been done sort of to the way they live their life, and I've got to respect that. And if I'm given something, I'm going to have to eat it. So there was times in Africa I've eaten rats, I've eaten hippo, I've eaten various different bugs and caterpillars and termites and cockroach and spiders, and I've eaten a lot of weird stuff, but it's never been right. I'm going to a restaurant. I'm going to order caterpillars. I'm been given these things, and I have to just eat it. It's a part of I need to survive, but then also a part of respecting the community I'm in and thinking, if they're going to feed me, and who am I to refuse what it is? And this is what these guys eat. It's not a mass chain of KFC type stuff going on. They're not just killing loads of chickens over and over again and then feeding them out to you. It's just they've got one of their village chickens they've killed because you're a guest in their village, and who am I to then say no, don't eat that? It is what it is. I'm not talking properly about what you asked the question for, really, but a lot of weird stuff, really. I guess. Yeah, but some people some people who go over to Africa, like some of my friends, even they've come over to see me, and anything that the Africans are eating, they class as weird. Oh, I'm not eating that. Oh, I'm not eating this. It's like inshima, which is the local dish, which is like a maize meal, which is ground up into like a mashed potato, and they eat their hands and things like that, and I really like it. But a lot of people come over and say, I'm not eating my hands. I'm not touching that. It's horrible. But it's just what they eat, It's not too bad. But they'll normally in Zambia and a lot of African places they'll have like this maize that they eat with their hands, and they'll have like a side dish which could be anything from like chicken or fish or caterpillar or whatever they've got, and then a bit of vegetable on the side. And this is pretty much what they eat in a lot of Africa, really. And but. Yeah, I've been to Thailand and things, Koh San Road, and had cockroaches and all this stuff that people have as a tourist, back in my 20s and things like that. But yeah, nowadays I'll have the mindset of trying to eat well when I'm at home, and just a lot more ethical as well about what I put into my mouth, and what I eat and what I choose to eat and stuff like that. And trying to go down that route as well. Obviously, want to feed my body with goodness as well. I don't want to eat a load of random stuff. But when I'm in an African country, it can be a case, as you can ask Justin, it can be a case of you eat whatever you're given. You've got no choice. There's no shops, there's no supermarkets. You can't go and choose to go and buy a pizza or whatever it is you want to get. But you're just pretty much given. And in Madagascar, all we got was rice. There's a large amount of time all we ate was rice, and it was just, you can imagine not having vegetables or protein and things, and it is really sort of tricky. But this is what all them guys have. So who am I to refuse a plate of rice, really?
Do you lose a lot of weight on these expeditions?
Yeah, I mean the Zambezi, I lost about 3 stone in weight on that from like the beginning to the end, and that's about 15 kg or something like that in weight. And I've never been like a massive person anyway, but the Zambezi, I lost. I went from about 13 stone to about 10 stone or something stupid like that on there, and similar on all my expeditions. You pretty much lose. You're guaranteed to lose a bit, and it's really difficult to obviously walk that far and then replace the calories to a good enough extent, and in such incredible heat, some insane heats, that you're not going to lose weight to a big degree, really. So it's something you've got to prepare for. You've got to try and make sure you go out there in a good enough shape that you're going to be able to afford to lose a little bit of weight, and then obviously putting it back on after is one of the fun parts. You know, you can go out and you can eat whatever you want for a while and stuff like that. It's pretty good, but yeah, you lose a lot of weight.
Do you take any food with you, like any canned food?
Don't take cans and things, obviously, because of the weight. But I normally take dry food like pasta or rice or oats and like lentils and things, and just things that basically are light to carry, but you can carry a lot of them and they're not going to be heavy. So I don't take any like tins and things like that. And sometimes take like some ground up herbs and vegetables and different things that basically just to give my body the nutrients it needs when I haven't got anything else. But for the most part, I'll buy stuff like that, and then when I'm out in Africa, I'll get whatever I can from the local villages, whether it's tomatoes or fish or whatever, and I'll mix it with the things I have already whilst I walk. In a lot of African places, especially the last few walks I've done, one of the main things they sell in the shops is sardines, tins of sardines. So I'd always buy 5 or 6 cans of sardines every time I reached the shop, and if all I was given was rice, I'd mix a can of sardines into this rice and it would change it completely. It'd give me protein, oils and things like that. And it was cheap as well, maybe like 20 pence for a can of sardines or something silly like that, and it's carry a load of them with me, which helped really.
So what equipment are you taking with you? Because you obviously don't want to be taking heavy stuff.
I mean, I carry simple sort of camping equipment. I'll have a tent, a lightweight tent, lightweight sleeping bag, sleeping mat, and just take a couple of sets of clothing really. I wear a brand called Craghoppers. They sponsor my expeditions as well. I wear their clothing, and it's like insect repellent treated clothing, and I'll normally just take a couple of sets of clothing, a couple of shirts, a couple of pairs of trousers, couple of pairs of socks, couple of pairs of underwear, and then just like your first aid kit, satellite phone, a little pot to cook on, a little trangia pot, which I can cook on fires. And then what else do I take? Couple of water bottles, couple of filtered water bottles. Very simple sort of setup really. I'll take a paper map as well as having maps on my phone that I can use as well, like online maps and things. I don't carry loads and loads of maps because if I had to do that, obviously the weight and the extent of what you need is crazy really. So yeah, I keep it simple, but I take what I need. I take what I need to survive pretty much. Don't take many luxuries. If I do take any kind of luxury, it's probably going to be maybe a book or something like that, even though on your phone you can get books and things. I have started taking solar panels, like a little fold-up solar panel, so I can charge my phone and my camera. I take a camera as well and things to obviously try and document the trip as much as possible. But yeah, keep it very simple.
Yeah. So you did have you documented them like a video series on it, or?
I mean, I did the Zambezi. I did a lot of videos. I've never made anything of it. I've done a few little videos and things. Like the Gambia River trek, I made a small film, like a 20-minute film out of that. The Madagascar trek, the Mangoky trek. Justin was doing most of the film side of that on there, and unfortunately, he lost a bit of one of the SIM cards was wiped, and we lost a fair bit of footage from that. So the idea was to try and make some kind of documentary from the Madagascar trek, which we haven't done yet. Me and Justin are still talking about potentially putting something together for that. But yeah, at the moment, I haven't really made as what you consider a substantial sort of documentary or anything from these expeditions. I think in future expeditions, I'd like to get more into that and get more into like the filmmaking side of it and trying to just do justice to these expeditions really. But for the most part, the last few expeditions have just been going out there and doing a wild adventure, and a lot of photos have been taken, and I've written a lot about them, but I've not published any books yet, which I'm in the process of trying to do as well. But yeah, try to document it as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to watch the documentary on that. That'd be awesome. Seeing everything you go through.
There's a few bits on my YouTube channel. There's not much, but the Gambia River treks on there, and there's a few little bits and pieces. But it'd be good if I can get with Justin and we can start trying to do some of the Madagascar stuff, really. But yeah, obviously living in different countries and moving around different places, it's quite difficult to get together with these people sometimes. And hopefully, yeah, get something done with that. And then I've got a couple of expeditions. I was supposed to be doing a walk at the moment, actually, but due to obviously the situation, I've had to put that on hold and constantly planning and preparing. And I think my problem is actually I'll do something and then I'll want to do something else, you know, and then I won't give myself enough time to justify what I've just done and make a film and whatever else. I'll just be like, right, what's the next project? And I'll be restless to try and get something else done. But yeah, so my phone's going to. There you go.
So out of the 3 big walks you did, what's been the best one and the worst one?
I mean, they've all had good points, you know, they've all had good points and bad points, really. And the best one, I guess the Zambezi has always been my number one expedition as far as the most incredible thing I've done. So I guess if I had to class it in a good and a bad, a best and a worst or whatever it is, I'd probably say the Zambezi was the best. And then the Madagascar's probably the worst because of the problems we had, you know, the constant problems. And I think the impression I had of Madagascar before I went was seeing this incredible continent. You know, I guess it is classed as the 8th continent, even though it's not. But this incredible place that's, you know, in my mind, there's going to be lemurs. You know, you get this impression of such a beautiful place, and the reality of it was very difficult and very dangerous and very barren, and you know, a lot of the land has been stripped away and very eye-opening. But you know, I've enjoyed every one of my expeditions, but I guess if I had to say the worst, because of the difficulties, it would be Madagascar probably.
Mm. So what's next in regards to expeditions? What's on the books?
So I'm actually, this year I've been, as you know, obviously the van life side of it, I've focused on quite a lot. I've built the van. I've been, I'm planning on trying to make a small film about van life and also writing blogs about van life and things. That's been the focus of this year and trying to set things up. I was actually supposed to lead a few expeditions this year. I was supposed to be out in Zambia, Namibia, Botswana, with a company I work for, Outlook Expeditions. But then I was going to, from now until November, I was supposed to be walking the Orange River in South Africa, which obviously I can't do. That was a 1,300 mile trek. So it's like one smaller than Zambezi. It's a big river that flows through Namibia, South Africa, and Lesotho, and in Southern Africa. And I was supposed to be walking from sea to source along the river as we speak. So I don't know when that's going to obviously resurface and I'm going to be able to do that walk again, but that would potentially be one of the next expeditions I do. And there's also an expedition I was trying to put together, which has obviously gone on the back burner as well, which was climbing the highest mountains in Africa, so the 10 highest mountains in Africa, whilst doing projects focused on the conservation of Africa's most endangered wildlife, most endangered species. And I was calling that Endangered Africa. And once again, it's on my website as the next expedition, actually, the Endangered Africa, but I've actually just put it on hold, you know, until I know what's going on, and then I'll get back to these things. I guess this year has been about really trying to do what I've never done, is justify what I've done already, and, you know, concentrate on the van and, you know, line things up maybe for next year. But I'm being reserved at the moment. You know, I've not got any major expeditions where I can say I'm doing this then or whatever it is, because it's really tricky to obviously know when I'll be able to do it properly at the moment.
Mm. So can people pay and then go on expeditions with you, can they?
So that is the sort of plan, really. I think as far as having team expeditions in the future, I'd like to, invite people along, and obviously they pay to join. And I put together maybe, the Endangered Africa expedition. The idea is to put together, the guides, the permits, the sort of location, the transport, the sort of in-country sort of side of it. And then there'll be, obviously, people can pay to be involved. They obviously pay for all that side of it, and pay, obviously be leading the expedition, etc. And the idea behind some of my expeditions will be that people can pay to come along and join, but then some of them I'll probably be doing solo as well, just continuing my whole solo expedition side of it. But then I want to have some team stuff as well, which people can pay to join. So at the moment, I'm trying to piece together some of them expeditions, and I'll get people involved as much as possible. But once again, it's just knowing when I'll be able to do it, really.
Yeah, that's something I'd love to do in the future as well. Just go on expeditions.
Yeah, man, you'll have to keep in touch, and we'll see if we can get you on an expedition.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love that. So you said you have a partner. How do you balance relationship with all the travel that you do?
I mean, we're both very, very open-minded, very sort of laid back, very like down-to-earth people, and we've been together since about February, so we've not been together very long, and we've actually only seen each other a few times because of the pandemic. But yeah, I mean, I'm just, yeah, I guess I can't answer it. Past relationships, I guess, has been difficult because I've been away on sort of long expeditions, and I've come back several months later, and then sort of it's obviously been difficult for the partner involved to be able to put up with that for long. But I guess with my future, the future I've got at the moment, I guess, is I'm going to always lead expeditions. So the person I'm with at the moment, she understands that, and she's respectful, and she knows that that's who I am and what I do. And I guess I need someone in my life that does understand that. And I'm not saying that's going to be the way it is forever, but what I'd love to do is be able to find a place where we can both be together and live a good life, really, and do what we want. But at the moment, yeah, it's difficult to say, really, because the situation in the world at the moment is just chaos, isn't it, really? And she lives in the US, and British citizens aren't allowed in the US at the moment. So she's been over here. We've travelled around Scotland together, and actually fallen in love with Scotland. Every time I go to Scotland, I fall in love with a place, and I'm actually thinking that might be where I eventually buy a place and settle down. It's going to be Scotland, I think, in some part of the wilder areas there.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could look at it similar to as New Zealand. It's just mountains and forests and rivers and lakes and just beauty, really. But yeah, it's a really sort of nice place. Really sort of, the people there are nice. The Scottish people quite welcoming. I've never had any problems. But yeah, I think England for me, it's not got the same beauty, the same sort of feel good vibe, and there is nice places in the UK, and there is nice places in England. I spend more time in Wales and Scotland than I do in England. I'm more of an outdoor sort of person, and always have been, and yeah, prefer to be in a sort of more laid back environment, really.
So do you eventually want to have kids?
Oh, kid question. So yeah, I actually have got a son as well, which is a big long story, but I've got a son in Zambia. So when I traveled the world for them 8 years, I actually, towards the end of that trip, I'd met someone in Zambia, and I'd formed a relationship with this girl in Zambia, and we obviously ended up having a child together. And I went back to the UK to then start my efforts as being an expedition leader. And one of the main reasons for doing that was to then be able to go out and see my son more often, and be able to sort of make that life work. And me and his mom were together for a few years, and it just didn't work out. We're completely different people, and things didn't really work for us. And I've got an 8-year-old son who lives in Livingston, Zambia, and until this year, I've been out there most every year and seen him, and obviously been a big part of his life. But this year's obviously been a case of I haven't been able to go out there. I'm normally out there now at the moment, actually, normally out there like July and August time, and I haven't been able to go out there this year, and I probably won't be able to go out there this year. So, yeah, I've got a son, but maybe in the future I'll have more children. I don't know, but I guess at the moment I've tried to concentrate on being a good dad, and doing what I can for my son in a difficult situation. Really, I can't be there, and he can't be here, and it's just been a tricky one, to be honest.
Is there technology there where you can like FaceTime or Zoom?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do FaceTime him, and I do sort of speak to him as much as possible. But yeah, it's a long story, but it's not been straightforward really with that side of it. And obviously, me and his mum were together, and then I think it's been more difficult with me and his mum's side of it than anything else, to be able to sort of make things easy for me to see my son, or to make things easy for me to communicate with him more often, because I can't just ring him. I have to obviously ring his mum, and it's not been a sort of not been straightforward really.
How does that affect you mentally? That'd be tough, especially this year not being able to go over there.
Yeah, it is tough. It is really tough, and it's something I've had to sort of get used to as well. The main thing behind it was I had problems with her, and she actually left me. I didn't leave her. She actually left me for someone else, which was difficult, at the time. And ever since then, I've tried to do what I can to be a father and to my son. Obviously my son is paramount to my whole life really, and it's been really tricky. And mentally, especially for the first so many years of his life, I really did struggle with that mentally, and tried as much as I can. And it's only the last few years I've had to sort of take a bit of a step back from it all, because mentally it is difficult. But I think I'm a strong-minded person. When I'm with my son, we get on really well together. He knows I love him. I do whatever I can for him. I've always supported him. I'm always there. And it's only this year I haven't really been able to do that. And I've sent money and things, so I support him in that way. But being able to be there for him has been obviously really difficult this year. And I'm just holding out for when I can get back over. But yeah, I think I stay strong. Stay strong is good.
Yeah, hopefully the world opens up soon. You can go back over and see him.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I mean, it's been I don't know what your view on this whole thing is, but it has been tough, and it's just been, I think something that I think they've gone about the wrong way. Personally, I think that they shouldn't have really shut down every possible town, country, whatever, and there should have been a better way of managing it. But I know it's such a big thing that it's difficult to know what was the right way to do.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a sticky situation, very tough.
Yeah.
So what have been some of the, I guess, life lessons you've learnt from traveling?
Traveling. So yeah, I guess like I said, it broadens your mind. It makes you sort of understand and appreciate things more. Especially, I think when I started at a young age, like I was saying, when you grow up in a town where everyone's got the same sort of view on life, and you're in a bit of a bubble, that it's really hard to look out of that bubble. And I think when you travel, you sort of learn that there is more to life than just that. There's so many different cultures, beliefs, views, traditions, and I've just learned that to respect everyone else's decisions and everyone else's way of life, and just learn. I guess respect is one of the things I've learned. I'm quite an impatient person, but I guess I've learned patience with leading groups, with understanding people, where they come from, what it is, why they have these issues, or understanding and respecting, and being more patient with people. I've learned that we don't need, like I say, I like to live a life where I feel like I can be more simple with what I've got around me and what I need in my life. So I've learned to be able to live a more simple life and appreciate things more and not take things for granted. Yeah, I've learned that it's important to really treat people well, and I think whatever you give out is what comes back, you know. And as far as if people are good to you, you have to really sort of take that in and be good back to people, and not to, I'm going on a bit now, aren't I? But not to sort of like get angry with people and just understand people. I think understanding is one of the biggest things I've learned, really, because it's so difficult to just get frustrated with a situation you don't understand. And I think travel really does help you to understand different situations, and it makes you more laid back. I always remember coming back from traveling and being so laid back, and my mom would be like, "What's wrong with you? Why aren't you doing it? What are you so?" I'm just I'm all right, you know. And I think people are just. I'm gonna have to just plug my phone in, mate. I'm gonna. Yeah. So yeah, just a lot about respect, really, and understanding, and yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I really want to get into more travel. So I've only been to China and Bali, but they weren't they were like all the touristy areas. So it wasn't really exploring. I want to get into that side of it.
What would be your sort of dream thing to be able to do? What have you got any sort of ambition to do any expeditions or any kind of personal projects you'd like to undertake or anything?
On the bucket list is New Zealand. I want to start from the top and make my way down to the bottom of it. And then, other than that, I'm not sure.
Okay. Right. Cool. I guess like I was similar when I was younger, and I was just like, I want to do this, and then when I'd done that, I wanted to do something else, and you just get a feel for just it evolves naturally, if you know what I mean. If you've got an idea in your head how you want to do, I think go for it, and then you'll always. I found one of the things when I'm on an expedition, I think about what I want to do next when I'm on that expedition. Sometimes I'll be walking around and I'll be, oh, I'd love to do this, and I'll start getting the thought more and more in my head, and then it ends up becoming a reality again. That I've created this next thing I want to do in my life, and I think life should be more about that. You know, you should have maybe at least one or two things you want to do, and then let them evolve naturally over time. And I think for me, I never really was that interested in going to South America, but only the last sort of year I've started to think I really want to go to South America, and it's just evolved like a natural sort of process in my head, really. And I think just different adventures.
Yeah, I haven't traveled by myself before either, so I want to jump out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, that's it.
So what kind of tips do you give people who want to get into traveling?
I'd say, I think, you know, a lot of the times you can overthink like the whole travel side of it, and I think being able to just do it, you know. I think it's difficult to really say at the moment because obviously what's happening once again in the world is we're restricted a little bit, but I think if you've got something in your head that you want to do, I think it's just a case of getting out there and doing it is obviously the forefront. But if you're worried about just being able to go and do it, you need to really sort of think about why you're worried, why are you not doing it, why are you not doing what you want to do. And if it's a case of you need some more you need to do some training, or you need to just sort of like research the place. I think the more you research something, the more you read on it, the more sort of you look into it online, the more it'll grow as a reality in your mind. And if it's something you really want to do still, maybe look about how you can do it and just get out and do it, really. And, you know, I think that first, like I said to you, that first sort of step I took when I was young to go and do something on my own was such a valuable lesson. You know, everyone's always a bit intimidated to go and do stuff on their own, and it just takes doing that one trip on your own to realize whether you actually like it or not. And I obviously loved it, and Traveling on your own is always one of the biggest worries, I think, but I think it's also the most incredible because you can do exactly what you want to do. You'll meet other like-minded people which are more likely to talk to you because you're on their own, they're on their own. You'll meet incredible people doing on the same wavelength, doing the same sort of expeditions and same sort of travel. I met so many, I think some of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life have been when I've been solo traveling and I've just met people and sat with people, talked about their experiences, and I think it's just taking that initial step and finding something you want to do and just getting out and doing it, but then also just be confident, and just enjoy it. And if it doesn't go right, then it doesn't go right. It's a story, but just getting out there, stepping out your comfort zone.
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing that once the world opens up again.
Yeah, me too.
So how do you fund all these trips?
So pretty much up till now, I pretty much just worked, to be honest. Like the first sort of main backpacking trips to start with, I had a working holiday in Australia and New Zealand. I'd go back and I wouldn't really have any ambition, so I'd do odd jobs in factories and things when I was younger. But the last sort of 6 years, I've been working as an expedition leader. So I've obviously worked, I've saved, I've had gaps in travel where I can go and do expeditions. And I haven't had any sort of financial support really through companies or anything, but in the future I'd like to think maybe more on sponsors or funding and different sort of people joining to pay to join the team. We'll obviously be able to afford to be able to get money for actually doing what I love doing. I do run training weekends, which I'm starting doing now, which obviously people can pay to be involved with. The idea in the future is also to write books as well. I'm going to start writing books about my adventures, hopefully, when I can get my finger, to get what's the word? Yeah, get myself together really and pull my finger out. And then, I was doing talks and things as well on the stage, talking about my adventures. And there's several different things you can do to fund the world of adventure, but it's about piecing them all together really and being able to do it, to be honest. But in the future, I've got a big list of things which I want to do, and obviously running expeditions is one of the paramount ones, and training weekends, talks, books. There's a number of different things involved with what I want to do in my life, and I think if you can do adventures and take people on adventures, and that's what you want to do, then getting paid for it is obviously very, very good if you can do that. And up until now, I haven't. I've had to self-fund most of it. Zambezi especially self-funded, and the idea for the future is to get more support and put more things together.
And how much does one of these expeditions cost, like the Zambezi's?
I mean, the Zambezi was relatively cheap, to be honest. I had my flights out there already for the company I work for. I was leading an expedition beforehand in Zambia, so I stayed in country and obviously didn't have to pay for the flights, so that didn't cost. Then, to be honest, when you're walking through the villages, it doesn't cost anything. You just got whatever you've got with you is what you've got. You might need to stop in the odd village and get little bits and pieces from the shops and maybe buy some more rice or buy, some biscuits or whatever it is you want to get from the shop. And that's pretty much all you can do when you're walking. You're relying on people, you're sleeping in a tent, your feet are your transport, your tent is your home, your food you have in your bag is all you've got. And the only real costs are when you get to borders, when you have to buy visas, you have to obviously go through procedures and things like that. And I think on the Zambezi, maybe a couple of £1,000 for 5 months work, 5 months walking was all I paid really.
That's not bad.
You think it's not bad at all, is that? I mean, it really frustrates me when I hear about expeditions that have cost thousands and thousands and thousands, and you've got these people that have put this expedition together, it's cost 90 grand or whatever, and you're thinking, where's that money gone? Why is it costing that? And then I do expeditions of similar stature, big incredible expeditions, and I don't need any money for it. It's just a case of you've got what you've got, your feet, your transport, and your logistics are your own. You just have to manage it well, and it really confuses me when people pay so much to do something that doesn't really cost anything. And I think that's one of the things that put people off the most, that they've heard about an expedition, they'd love to do the same, but this expedition has been sponsored by Bentley or whatever it is. I don't want to name companies, and it's cost like thousands and thousands and thousands, and you're thinking, well, where's that money gone? You know, all you've done is just walked or cycled or whatever it is, and why did you need money? But yeah, so it doesn't cost as much as you think, and I think it's just a case of you've got to piece it together well, and you've got to know exactly what you need to do and where you need to go, and that's the sort of cost. You know, you've got to do your research, you've got to sort of know that you're going to be able to do it, know that you've got what you need, and then when you get there on it, you don't really need anything. You know, you just need the right frame of mind and the right mentality, and it's doable.
Yeah, so it's good. Your expeditions won't be too much then.
What? Sorry.
Your expeditions won't be too expensive. I'll be able to come.
Yeah, well, I guess like the endangered Africa and things like that. The reason they're expensive is because, well, not expensive, but to climb the mountains in Africa, probably have to pay park fees and permits and things. And when I obviously tally it all together, I'm not sure how much it'll cost, but I know to climb a Kilimanjaro trek, you're talking like maybe £1,500 or something like that, and then to climb the 10 highest, I'm not really sure how much I'm going to be able to get it together for, but hopefully it won't be too much. I think like the river walks don't cost much at all, you know, once you're out there, and it's just a case of getting out there and getting it all together. But yeah, I'll keep you posted on
for sure.
Finance side of it.
So when you have free time, what are your hobbies?
Hobbies, quite simple, really. Just like I don't drink. I don't really. I mean, especially this year, I've not really drank or gone out or done anything because we haven't been able to. But walking in the mountains, and I like just being outside. You know, I like being next to the water. I teach bushcraft and stuff as well, so I do practice some bushcraft. I guess my main hobby is just walking, to be honest, just hiking and stuff like that. I'm not really a climber. I've not really got many other sort of outdoor passions. I want to get a kayak for the boat, for the van, sorry. I want to get a mountain bike and things like that. But at the moment, I'm just, concentrating on the hiking, the training, the climbing up mountains and things like that. I guess you can just say walking's a hobby, isn't it? I do reading.
Yeah.
And watch films and, just research documentaries and, just living a good life, really,
So what is bushcraft? Is that just starting fires or?
Yeah, I guess it's living off the land. So if you're in a forest, you build shelters with the trees, or you can, forage for food, you can light fire from the land, you can obtain water, you can build sort of like traps and things like that. It's I guess it's a number of things. I guess it's the main thing is just living off the land and living what you've got with you. Bushcraft's mainly a woodland type thing, really. And just
it's such a lost skill though.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I was saying about Africa earlier, as far as the traditions, the skills, the things that people are losing, and they're going out of the villages into the cities. And what happened to us years and years and years ago is now, so you can see slowly happening in Africa, as far as the way we used to live is a lost skill. We used to always rely on a lot of the forests in the UK were originally planted and designed for people to live. They had like different trees with different berries and nuts and different sort of edible plants and things like that. And if you go into the forests today, you can still see signs of this, that a lot of edible things are in that forest, and people used to live in the forests, and they'd build their houses, they'd get their water, they'd get their food from that forest, and it is still there, and it's a lost skill. And as you can see in every country, there's still tribes that live in that way, and it is becoming more of a lost. Obviously in Australia, the Aboriginal people, they obviously used to live off the land and know the ways of the land and things, and I don't know if it still happens as much today, but these skills are getting lost. And
Yeah.
through time. Yeah.
So what is your why?
The what, sorry?
Your why for life?
My wire. Uh, as in what way? What's the wire? The wire, like my
Why? Like, why do you live life? Like, what's your purpose?
purpose. I don't know. I think just living a good life. I think one of the main things I find is you've got to do exactly how you feel inside is what you want to do, and I think I've always done that. A lot of people would say, oh, I'd love to do that, I'd love to do that, and that seems to be all I'll ever say. They won't actually do it, so I think for me, I've always said I'd love to do that, I want to do that, and I most likely will do it, and I'll go out and do it. And I think it's a case of feeling something, like if you feel like you've got a real passion is obviously really underrated. If you've got a passion for something, then you really need to be doing that thing, unless it's something bad. Obviously, you don't want to do bad stuff with passion. But if you've got a passion to go and live in the outdoors, you've got a passion to go and walk up that mountain, or you've got a passion for just living off the land, or camping, or doing an expedition, or just living a life in a certain way that's positive, then I think that's the way I look at things. If I think, how do I want to live my life? What do I want to do? What do I want to achieve? What do I what do I want to get from this? And how is it making me feel? Is it making me feel good? Then that's what I want to do. And I guess my why would be just following them things, them feelings, and sort of doing exactly what I'd love to do with my life. And I think like the next steps would be getting some land and having a house somewhere in a beautiful place, and just you're living off the land as much as possible, really, and just not having to rely on other people so much, which is what I do in the van. I've got a simple life here in the van, but I think just I think the thing that really frustrates me is that a lot of people will say, I'd love to do that, or I want to do this, and I've never had the time, or I've got this going on, I've got that going on. And I think it's just a case of just, if you really want to do it, you can do it. And it is a simple case of just putting everything together to do it. And if it's making you happy, then it's the right thing. If that's not making you happy, then it's not the right thing, And I think it's just a case of people are scared to really do what it is to make them happy in case they fail, or if it doesn't work out as it should. And I think if you do fail, then it's just a case of taking it as a lesson, and then maybe trying again, or trying something else. I think life, it's about adapting and changing and just doing what you love, really.
Yeah. So many people fear failure, and it kills so many dreams.
Yeah. Everyone does. I think it's natural to do it, isn't it? It's natural to sort of say, right, I'd love to do this, but if I fail, then what's everyone going to think, blah, blah, blah. One of the main things is just not worrying about what anyone else is going to think for a start. It's not their problem. It's not... when I had to pull out of doing the Zambezi because of this problem, I felt like I'd failed what I wanted to do. I felt like it... But I knew it was the right thing because it's dangerous. I could get killed. And most people that respect you will see that, and they'll respect you for having made that decision. And for the most part, the people that can't see that, you don't need them in your life anyway. You don't need people that are giving you a hard time. And you just got to surround yourself with the people that are actually going to support you for a start. If it's a very difficult thing to do, and I know if people in your life are not making your life good, then maybe they shouldn't really be in your friendship circle or whatever it is, So it's a case of filtering people out, but just making sure you're surrounding yourself with good people and they support you and following your dreams. And if you fail, then you just pick yourself up and carry on, It's important, really important.
Yeah, exactly. So do you look up to anyone or people that inspire you?
I mean, there's several people that have inspired me over the years with expeditions they've done, and I can't really name. I don't really want to name specific people, but I guess just over time, I've really been passionate about people that have took on major expeditions and people that have had a passion for wildlife conservation. Like David Attenborough, for example. He's obviously a big name in wildlife conservation, and people like that have inspired me to want to sort of do adventures and to highlight problems and to sort of enjoy the world. You know, the world is an incredible place, and everywhere you go, you'll see such beautiful natural things. And when I see other people doing these adventures or these expeditions, and I see how they've accomplished, or I see how they've been so passionate about it, then that makes me excited to do my own things. And there's several people I've seen done major expeditions or just lived a life in a good way. And I see people every day that are just living a simple life, or they followed their dreams. And these people inspire me to do the same myself. And I can't really say that anyone in my family has ever inspired me to do anything. You know, that they've been quite the opposite to what I've been in my life. You know, they've always lived a sort of simple life and done what they want to do in their own sort of way. And I think the way I live my life is completely different to anyone I've ever known, really, in my sort of circle of people around me. But I guess just looking on old explorers and sort of, you know, inspirational people, you know, through conservation of things has really sort of inspired me, really, to be honest.
Did you follow Steve Irwin when he was alive?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I followed Steve. I mean, I actually I was there in 2004, and then I was there again in 2009 in Australia. When was it Steve Irwin passed away? Was it 2009, 10? Was it?
I think around there. Not sure.
Yeah, I mean, when I was there in 2004, he was alive, and I remember going to Australia Zoo, actually, and there was a guy down the road on a bike, and I don't know if this is a thing, but as we drove, he was like waving to us, and then I realised, I said, that looked like Steve Irwin, and then ever since that point, I've had in my head that guy I saw was Steve Irwin. But he was just an incredible person, wasn't he? The things he did, and the way he was obviously completely nuts, but at the same time, he had so much respect for the animals, and he had so much intelligence behind them. And the way he portrayed himself was obviously, yeah, I liked him. And the way he died was obviously really bizarre because of everything he did with crocodiles and things, that he got killed by a stingray. It was crazy to see, but I like the whole movement. I like the way his family have taken over, and they're still doing the same thing. And he's, he left a legacy for sure.
Yeah.
What about yourself? Is he someone that's inspired you, or
when I was younger, I supported him so much. I cried when he died because I was only I was young. I was like maybe 10 when he died.
All right. So
like I cried, and I went to his zoo, but after he died, so I never really got to see him there. It was
really shocking, wasn't it? It was really, really a shock to see that he died from, especially in the way he did. No one would have ever expected it from Steve Irwin. Such a strong guy. He could do anything, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's good that his family is carrying on his legacy and they're doing great things for animal conservation and that.
Yeah, it is good to see. And is his daughter's like? Is it Bindi? Was it name?
Yeah, Bindi. Yeah.
Yeah, she does a lot, and is his son as well. He looks a spitting image of him as well.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself in the next few years? Do you got any big goals?
I don't really think too far ahead, to be honest. I think the whole land thing is big on my mind, about getting some land and having a simplified life. You know, I've lived a van life for quite a long time, and I think the next step would be able to get some land and maybe a little dwelling somewhere, you know, in the countryside, in the wild. That would be something I'd aim for in the next few years. But also probably to have done a few more expeditions and to raised a bit more awareness about wildlife. But yeah, to be honest, I don't really have the vision past, you know, every year I'll have like a set sort of like, this is what I'd like to do with the year. And I never really think beyond that because I know a lot of things can happen and change in life. And I really don't, I see it it puts a lot of pressure on you to think like years ahead, I think, in your life. Because as we can see with 2020, we never know what's going to happen. So
Exactly.
I think it's just, I'd like to see myself, in a good countryside location with a lot going on. We'll see.
Yeah. So last two questions. When your time's up on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for?
I don't know. So, yeah, the time's up. So I don't know really. I mean, it wouldn't bother me if no one remembered me. I don't think I've ever got that urge to say I want to be remembered and things like that. But I guess if I was, everyone would want to be remembered as having done something good and to be a good person and to sort of, to maybe sort of inspired people. I think I've done a lot of expeditions and I've done a lot of things, and I've always tried to do it for the right reasons. I've never really tried to ever do anything to just make myself, this cool guy or whatever. I want to reach people in a way that I'm sort of hopefully going to inspire them to either do their own adventures and follow their own dreams, or just to sort of try and see the world in a different way and sort of, just look after the world. And I think I'd like people to think that he was a good guy. He's all right. He was pretty good. But at the same time, if they don't, then I don't know. I don't think it really matters. But yeah, I think as long as you know within yourself you're doing what's right for you and the world, then I don't think people could ever really see you in anything else other than that. If you're doing bad, and people are always going to see, but if you're always doing good, then I think anyone around you will see that, and hopefully that will, when you're gone, it's highlighted, isn't it, to the highest degree possible, that people hopefully will see that you did do things for the right reasons, you were a good person, you did sort of make a difference, and hopefully be remembered as someone that inspired other people to do the same thing, really.
Yeah. And lastly, what's your definition of success?
Success. Success. I think my definition is to succeed with what you feel personally is right. A bit similar to the last thing, as far as like what you feel is the right thing for yourself and for other people, maybe. And as far as if you had a goal to maybe walk Africa's largest river or whatever it was, and you had an aim behind it to sort of say, I want to raise awareness for this sort of subject, I guess that would be, and if you completed that walk and you did raise awareness, then that would be one type of success. But also just to live your life in a positive way and know that you've achieved everything that you really, really felt you wanted to achieve in your life. But then at the same time, you could sort of, anything can happen in the world, so I don't know. Success it's a funny one, success, because it's got so many categories, hasn't it? And that's probably why you asked the question. But
yeah,
I guess just to make knowing myself that I've done what it was I wanted to do in my life, and whether that's walk the river or whether it's just sort of follow my dream to get this land I want to get, or to sort of make sure my son's grown up in a good way and looked after, and just make sure people respect me and know that I've done what I can to help, or to sort of inspire and things like that. Succeeded. I wouldn't say for me it was ever about making money and things like that, or any kind of gain. That's definitely not what I think it is personally for myself. I know that obviously would be for some, but yeah, just to succeed with what you think is right for yourself, really.
Yeah. Well, This has been an awesome chat. For all the listeners out there that want to find out more about you, where's the best place to go?
Well, the main source of social media I use is the Wildest Journey, which is just type in the Wildest Journey or Chaz Powell on Instagram and it's there. But thewildestjourney.com is my website where I've post expeditions and updates and information about what I've done, etc. But yeah, that's the best place to find me.
Sweet. Well, Thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. It's been an awesome chat.
It's my pleasure, mate. Yeah, it's been really nice speaking to you.
We'll definitely have to catch up in the future. Hopefully do an expedition or something.
Yeah, man, definitely. I'll keep you updated and let you know what the plans are, and we'll speak more and try and get back to speak to you again if any crazy expeditions happen in the future.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
No worries, man. My
I'll let
pleasure.
you get back to your day and enjoy it.
Cheers, man. You too.
Cheers, mate.
So.